Let's talk about another story that's sort of on a related note because it also affects travel, but it affects a lot more than that. I'm talking about the heat wave and other sort of weather changes here. Americans across the Southwest right now are battling brutal heat waves, and the cost of keeping cool is still hot. Even with falling inflation, electricity prices remain elevated. They're up 5.4% year over year with more extreme heat on the horizon. How are heat waves going to hit the economy? Steve, you know, we have the heat issue, we have the rain and the flooding issue, which has been affecting people here in the Northeast. As an investor, how do you think about this stuff?
The thing that I'm trying to grapple with, and I don't have the hard statistics for it, is if I'm running my air conditioner in Arizona, in Texas, in Southern California, in Florida, 24/7 at a rate that I've never had to run it before. It's, you know, when it's 95 degrees at midnight. So those air conditioners are going 24/7. So so the inflation rate on utilities might be 0.9%, but the amount of money that people are spending on utilities in a large swath of the country is enormous, and that money has to come from somewhere. If you have a fixed budget and you're spending more of it to just keep the house cool so that you don't, to survive, that money is not going to be spent on other things. And I ran this by a friend of mine who lives in Houston, and she basically said, and I don't go anywhere anymore because it's just too hot. So I'm not going to restaurants. I'm not hungry because it's 100 degrees all the time. So I think this is one of these factors. It's very hard to quantify. I actually literally put on Twitter yesterday, does anyone have statistics on this? And I, crickets, because I don't know that it's really been quantified yet. But my gut tells me this is not good.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you think of just the impact to the power grid across the country, and we've certainly seen places like Texas, when it's strained, how much that can affect both the local economy there and then just the infrastructure across the U.S. And I mean, and to your point just about how much we're running our air conditioners now. I mean, I find myself, we've been in 90-degree weather for like a few weeks now. I feel like,
And there's a lot of talk about student debt, and you and I actually talked about this recently offline, the idea that if you're spending the money now to pay down the debt, you're not spending it on other things. Less attention has been paid to if you're spending more money on your electric bill, you're not spending it on different things. We're talking to Torsten Slok in the next hour of Apollo. I have a feeling he has a view on this. I'm looking forward. I'm going to ask him about this, given this conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but do you make any kind of investment decisions yet based on these kinds of sort of conjectures at this point?
I think right now you have to be a little bit concerned about what the consumer is doing. Discover, which is down. Last I looked was down about 12% this morning. So initially I want to hear from Visa. I want to hear from MasterCard. I want to hear where are people having to borrow on their credit cards to finance their lifestyle, or are they just cutting back overall on discretionary stuff because you have to spend it on necessities. So that will be an interesting one. The problem is that in many cases the retailers, Amazon excluded, the big retailers don't really start to come out until a month later. Their fiscal year is 1 month separate, 1 month later. And so it'll be very interesting to hear what a Walmart has to say, whether Dollar Tree is picking up shoppers or that kind of stuff.
Well, there was some news out from Walmart today about cutting the prices for a certain segment of its Walmart Plus membership for a certain segment of its
for people on food stamps and who get government aid, right? Random question: bringing together our travel and our heat segments. Does everybody do this when you go on vacation? You turn your thermostat up so you don't have to pay for it while you're gone.
Coming back, I don't. I just turn my AC off.
When you turn it off entirely.
Yes, when I'm gone. If I'm going to be gone for like a week or something. Yes.
If I'm going to be gone for an extended period of time, it goes off. If it's a couple days, it goes up to like 79 or 80 or 81 or something like that, just so that. If it's predicted to be really hot, so I don't walk into a house that's
and
like
you're
a sauna.
Not immediately, exactly.
But yes, it's a combination. Yes, I turn it up when I leave because what do I want? It's wasteful.
I don't want that.
Exactly, especially now if rates are going up and the heat is up.